So, good afternoon, or good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers around the globe, and welcome to another intimate conversation. And in this series, this time, we have a beautiful guest called Daring Donna. Welcome, Donna.
Hi, Mandy.
I'm so glad you came along. I'm been very keen to have a chat with you. I love all these little chats with everybody and finding out more about our Facebook people.
Yeah, well, it's been cool listening to all the little chats. So
Oh,
thanks for actually creating this platform. It's awesome.
oh, thank you. Yeah, more and more people are enjoying it, which is nice to hear. I'm getting more feedback and things, and it's really lovely. Because you do wonder, you think, oh, is anyone actually watching these things? But no, they are, and it's really nice to have that feedback. And also the feedback from those guests that have come in. Some of them have found that it's like really woken them up to actually where I am right now, and how I got there. It's like really lovely. So I enjoy that too. So I will just introduce you by reading your bio to everyone so they get an idea of who you are. So, Donna, a lover of all things nature, I find my morning routine must include connecting in nature for me to feel grounded and complete. The systematic world seems to be getting more chaotic, and as I flow with ease and grace into 60, I find more time for nature. I have adored life so far with all its kinks, challenges, backward steps, down rabbit holes, up in the clouds, and look back on a life of adventure, curiosity, service, playfulness, freedom, travel, connection, blood, sweat, and tears. It all just it all just is, and I find nothing is right or wrong. And I find nothing is right or wrong. It's a free place to be. I have done much in my past, from representing New Zealand in sport, working in corporate as a human resource consultant, running a business called Daring Adventure, setting up health retreats, gift economy cafes, Earth Kids schools, community gardens, food forests, alternative energy projects, and the list goes on. Today, I find myself living between the two hemispheres, summer in Europe and UK, and summer in New Zealand. Oh, that's so cool. I live for the sun by my ultimate source of energy. Home is in my heart, and I flow wherever I am needed. My husband and I have found a way to live in both hemispheres. I have been offering mindfulness walks and wild camping for a while now, and have a few happening over summer here in New Zealand, and then off to Portugal to walk the south coast. Having done 1,000K, you are incredible. I watched this 1,000K plus
Yeah.
on the Camino this year. I experienced how being so connected to the basics of finding food, shelter, water, connection daily is so good for people and can shift a lot of shite. I also coach and seem to attract those that are in transition, want to change something in their lives. I have started a master's in holistic health coaching this year with Precure, and am loving learning and being a student, one step at a time, in your time. Araha nui. Daring Donna. Beautiful.
Sounds
Amazing.
funny listening, hearing it
Yeah,
back.
I bet it does. I The first thing that I always ask a guest on, Donna, is, were you a consciously aware child when you were little? If so, how did that impact your family? If not, what was your family dynamics like? And how did it sort of bring you into being where you are now in your awareness?
Yeah, I was really aware as a child, as far back as I can remember, like right back. We lived on a farm. We were a really close family of four. So much love. I never felt unloved. We had no money. We would be deemed on the poverty ratio, up north on a farm, working hard. Mum and dad still don't own their own house, so that was helpful too, to actually grow up creating what we needed. And I was always in nature. I remember sitting in front of a mirror when I was 8 years old and just watching these faces go past me and realizing that there was so much more to me than just the body. And I would escape up into my little part of the ceiling in the corner and look down on this body. And I just thought everybody did it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, there we are. And so I lived in a rose-colored world, even when things were bad, deemed bad. There was always so much support
Mhm.
around me of the unseen. So I used to talk to all of the people that used to come and visit me at night when I was going to sleep. And yeah, it was, and mum and dad were great. They were young and um busy on the farm, and we played lots of sport. And yeah, it was really cool. And New Zealand was so freaking slow back then. Like,
Yeah.
people weren't chasing the money. There
No,
weren't
they weren't.
yeah, so it was pretty sweet. I'm very grateful for that time.
Mm. I get that. I grew up in a farming family too. We had a house in town with an acre of land, which had the horse, and Dad would bring the lambs and the things, the strays, and the pups. If there was a dog, one of his work dogs having pups and things, he'd bring them in for mum to, feed when the pups were weaned. And oh God, it was all mayhem, but it was beautiful. And then we had the farm, and Dad was also a shearing contractor. So I was immersed in all of that just beautiful nature and the slow, beauty of life in that time, which, today you can miss it when you're in that busy out there
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Whereabouts was your farm, Mandy?
Thai happy. I grew up.
Ah, go Thai happy.
Yeah, Gumboot City. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a great space, and still is a great space to grow up in. Yeah, it's beautiful. A real community, like everyone knew everyone. We all looked out for each other. Sometimes I didn't like the interference that some of the parents might, ring mum and tell her I'm smoking. Mandy's smoking down at the town hall tonight. Did you know that? All those things.
Mm.
But everyone was, yeah, looking after each other. It was lovely. Yeah. Um, So how did you what sports did you go into? How did you represent New Zealand in sport, Donna?
Well, I always used to watch the Olympics with Dad. We came from a sporting background, and I was like, I want to go to the Olympics. That looks awesome. Not to win, just to go and have fun. And it seems such a great energy. So we were a swimming family. My dad was a swim coach, and my sister and I swam competitively. And we were really good, actually. We lived right near Kaiwi Lake, so that used to be our training,
Mm.
our swimming pool,
Yeah.
until we saw Jaws and then freaked ourselves out.
Yeah,
Woo,
me too. Me
yeah,
too.
yeah. So it started with swimming, and then I got an ear infection and had to give up swimming. Then I went into hockey and did really well with hockey, and then that kind of progressed. And with the swimming background, when I moved down to uni, I joined Surf Lifesaving, and with that strength from the farm, I was really good in surf lifesaving, and just yeah, got really good and represented New Zealand and traveled a bit, and then was like, well, I can't go to the Olympics and surf lifesaving. So I swapped over into kayaking. That was when Ian Ferguson and Paul McDonald were around. And I thought,
Right.
yeah, I'll do this kayaking gig. But it wasn't as fun. It was a bit more technical. And I was really good because I had that strength, but it just wasn't as fun. So I traveled quite a bit with kayaking overseas, and did really well at a national and okay at an international level, but my heart wasn't there. So just
Yeah.
before the Olympics, I was like, nah, I'm out. And I just traveled. I just
Wow.
disappeared into the sunset and traveled. Yeah. And never
Wow.
regretted it, never regretted, because that urge, from like a 12-year-old to 24, that's a long time to train night and morning,
It
full on.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'll play rugby. And so I got into the first New Zealand women's rugby team, and that was
Yeah.
hilarious. That was very fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I played a little bit of rugby. I was a hockey girl, but that was really all the sport that was, other than netball when I was a girl, and then we had a couple of rugby games, which I enjoyed too. But that was all. It never went anywhere. Yeah.
and
But
that's the thing, isn't it? It's interesting how there wasn't a lot of sport to choose from back then. Like triathlons weren't even a thing when I was growing up. I would have
no.
loved to do triathlons,
Yeah.
but it just, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot more on offer now.
Definitely that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Wow. And so when you left school, you went traveling?
Yeah, I went traveling, and then, well, I left school to go to Gisborne to train with the kayak team. And then I thought I better do something. So I went to tech and did accounting.
Oh.
Absolutely. I have no idea why I did that. With a dyslexic brain, which is really dyslexic with numbers, I had no idea why I was there. I think this is the reason I went to do the accounting, is that on my first day, and I should have left after that, I said to my professor, "What does mortgage mean?" And he said to me, "Death grip."
Oh gosh.
And I was like, wow, and that kind of set me up. And more and more I got into accounting, the more and more I was like, this is a system caught in process, not to support people, but to create competition and, surviving, like try and get the money. So it was actually really good in a way. I never finished it, but it was a good lead in. And so then when I started to set up all the gift economy projects around the place, I
Right.
had that background of the system game. Yeah, so it's
Right.
quite good to see the game, but my heart was more in how can I help people. So I did human resources in the end.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you said accounting, it was like, oh my God, that's so not who you are.
I
But a great tool that you had to be able to help yourself through those other projects, eh?
Absolutely.
But
And
yeah,
it's really good to understand the game of money.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. So all these projects, like let me just have a look here because Earth Kids schools, the economy cafes, community gardens, I get the Earth schools. Those are like explain that because I know now we were just actually talking. I was just talking with somebody else, and we were saying about how there's more of these, preschool
Mm.
and places like that that are now bush kids, teaching the children how to grow plants or bringing in more garden stuff, nature into their training and teaching. And I think that all playtime, and I think it's really changing, like coming back to more of what we grew up on. I mean, my mum, her veggie garden was huge. And, because we had the farm, we had the freezer full of meat, we had mum's all her veggies that she would freeze and then preserve fruits. And like everything was just done from growing your own, it was
Mm.
beautiful, like really beautiful. And I think more and more that type of thing is coming back in, isn't it?
Absolutely. And with the Earth Schools, we started those in 2006, and they were a precursor to forest schools, forest kids, bush kids, because I was helping with the environmental schools project at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and that was caught in the education system. And so we looked at how we could bring it into a more um, inclusive system for people who were homeschooling or freedom schooling. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's we had quite a few mums that took that on, and then that's morphed into other things. I always love that about projects. It's you start something that seems like really like the gift economy cafe, Y Cicada in Newmarket was like, wow, this has never been done before. And now there's a lot of it happening all around the world. So I'm always one, I love the startup and getting the ideas out there. and then to see where it goes. I don't have to kind of stick with it and create a brand, label, and I'm not a very good driver. I'm too busy traveling and playing, and
Yes.
but you're right, we do seem to be going back to those basics of growing our own food, which is great, because my goodness, New Zealand, even in 6 months, I've just got back, is so expensive. Our food is just shot up. How can you even eat out anymore?
It is. It's really shocking. It is. I have to agree. And somebody just said there was about 1,000 odd people that have left New Zealand over the last few months to go to Australia. You know, they're just going out in droves. I think it was even a bigger number than that over a short time. But it's, yeah. I can't. I
Watch
just
the space.
exactly. And I get that. Because all I'm hearing is that it's not actually government. It's not. It's these supermarkets choosing the prices. They choose what they put on them, and it's so yeah. Anyway, we could go on about all that, eh?
Absolutely. So, in the positive of that, isn't it wonderful that more and more people are gardening and creating their own food, so they know where it's come from as well, and then
Yeah,
they can choose how they grow it.
yeah, for sure. I know it's lovely. It is. It's really good, and I love getting my hands in the soil. I love that I had my mother. I'd come home after school and you'd always see her head down, bum up, and she'd be in the garden somewhere. And her gardens were immaculate. We used to laugh about the weeds not even wanting to poke their heads up because they were going to get ripped out. You know, she was so immaculate with everything. It was just beautiful. But the economy cafes, just explain those, Donna, for anyone who doesn't know what they are. Can you just tell us that?
Yeah, so back in 2006, quite a few of us met at Heart Politics down in Taupo, and I've lost my Maori pronunciations because I've been away for so long. So I've got Portuguese and Spanish, and my Maori's gone out the back door. Taupo,
Taupo.
Taupo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to relearn even kia ora, because you say kia ora all the time up north, but
Yeah.
Portugal, you never say it. Anyway, gift economy cafes. So the whole thing around money, one thing that I really noticed, and I still do, is we still really are, as a society, including overseas as well, I feel, and I'm going to make a bold statement, we're very stuck in this thing called money.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sticks us. And money has no energy. Money
No.
has absolutely no energy. Money is actually quite pure. Poor money gets such a bad rap
It does.
because it's the way that it's used. So we were like, okay, let's use it in its more pure form if we can. So we set up a whole lot of different projects, and one of them was a gift economy cafe in Auckland. And we created the opportunity. It was a vegan, plant-based whole food cafe, and the opportunity for people to come in and give what they felt from their hearts. And we had 52 volunteers working it, because it was back in 2010, 2011. So people were really interested to see how it would go. And it was amazing. It was such a good learning. It was the best university education without university I've ever done, just seeing our reaction to money. And it was really good for me because I know that money flows in and out, and yes, it can get stuck, and yes, you can have none, but you've always got something beyond money. So it was great for me to see that. So yeah, just and people will always usually buy food, so we thought if we did it around food, that brings the family the whānau. And yeah, is that answered your question? I feel like I went.
So how did it? Well, yes, but how did it work in respect? So you had volunteers come in that just volunteered to work in there. Yeah.
Yep. So volunteers came in.
So then people would come into the cafe and they would still purchase or buy the foods. It was
Yep,
a
yep.
yeah.
It was called gift economy, not koha, but gift economy, because it was a gift, and our current economy, currently I see, is money. So gift economy, gift money. And so
Right.
they would give what they felt to give.
I see. So things didn't have certain prices on
No,
them.
no prices. It's like with my
Oh,
coaching now, people give me what they feel for the exchange. It's actually a really beautiful way to flow. I really enjoy it.
I get that, but you know what I've found though, when I've put out a koha, so it's whatever you want to give, people really get frozen in that. They don't know what to do. They really don't.
There's an education around it. So when I have a new client come on board, I talk to them about gift economy and explain what it is. Koha is to give anything.
Yeah,
Gift economy is to give money, but it is to give it sustainably from what you're able to give for
yeah,
so it's not even about the value of the work. It's got,
yeah.
for me, it's got nothing to do with the value of the work. It's what they can give sustainably. So it's a real conversation and a bit of a play between myself and the client before they even give. And
Yes.
yeah, I've never had any problems. I really believe in it. I really feel it. I use it myself. It's very much a part of me. And
Yeah.
that's where it was great to do the Y Cicada project, because, and a lot of people listening to this too have been into Y Cicada, so they were part of it. And we all learned together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, we did some books. We had a house. We ran it. We even bought a piece of land up north on gift economy. So
Wow.
yeah, the only time I've found that it hasn't worked is if I have to add in other, like with my mindfulness walks, I give a price because very little of it goes to me. Most of it is food, tents, accommodation. So when there's outside costs, I
Hmm.
find it a little bit more difficult for people to then have to give a
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also in that conversation, knowing some people have been offended by the koha that they were given. Is that
Right.
actually all they think I'm worth? So there's that. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that is a conversation that you need to have before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there were times in the cafe when so we were told by the Māori elders that we were working with, do not call it koha.
Yeah,
It is a completely different energy. So
yeah,
koha is when you give with great love without any expectation about what you get back. So you
yes,
could get a hug, you could get a sack of potatoes, you could
yes.
get a exchange of miri, whatever. Whereas ours was very much gift economy. So give us some money because that's what currently we use in
Economy
the world,
is, yeah,
but it's what's sustainable from you. What do you feel like to give? So one example was a lady used to come in and we'd make her these beautiful green smoothies, and the cup was, because it was a cup, you back then, what are they, the eco cups,
oh
they were
yeah,
like 10 cents each, and she would give us 50 cents, and in this green smoothie it would be packed with greens that we'd grow in, it would spirulina, blah blah blah. So the cost of it was about 110, and she would give us 50 cents, and the team got really angry. And so one day when she came in, I said to her, look, I'm going to give you back your 50 cents, and I'm going to buy this for you. I'm going to gift from my heart with no expectation from you. But people are getting really upset because the actual cost of the smoothie is $1.10. And she looked at me and she laughed her head off, and she goes, I've been waiting for someone to test me, and everybody's just been putting up with it.
wow.
So we just had a great conversation around that. And then I had somebody come in and give, like, at the time, this is 2013, they gave me $25 for a green smoothie. And I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. This is beautiful. However, is this sustainable for you? And the lady burst into tears and said, no, but I love what you're doing. This is the last $25
Oh,
I have. And I was just like,
Oh,
oh my goodness. So we gave her back the $25 and then talked to her around the gift economy. So gift economy is definitely, there's an educational piece with it as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because everyone definitely has different ideas around it. And
Yeah.
I say some get wounded because it's actually not what, 50 cents, it's $1.10. And that sort of thing needs to be clearer, and
Absolutely. Yeah. You need to
and
be really clear if you're going to be using it.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. It's a very cool thing. And I think more and more people are getting comfortable with that type of thing.
Mm,
And also the paying it forward. I love that.
mm.
I just love that. And I had this young guy who was standing on the street corner in Carmore, and he's like, oh, miss, and he's wanting $2 for the bus. And everybody's just walking right around and giving him this, the evil eyes, oh yeah, right, type of job, and walking around him and not doing any of that. And I came up looking into my wallet, looking for $2 or four or whatever I had. And so I gave it to him, and he was so thankful. And he said, thank you, thank you. He said, oh God, I've got a job interview and I just needed that $2 to get the bus ticket to go to the job interview. And I said, sweet as, he said, and as he was running off, I said, because I high five, good job you doing, and best of luck and all the rest of it. And as he was just going to jump onto the bus, he turned around, he says, and I'll pay it forward, miss.
Oh,
Oh,
bless
look,
him.
and I just thought, oh, bless you go for it. And then as I was telling somebody about that, because it just made oh my God, he was such a joy. And this dude said to me, oh yeah, I bet he got about $120 that day from everybody else that he told the same story to. And I just thought, yeah, you can think like that. That's
Mm.
your thing if you want to think like that. But I don't care. He made my day. I you
Absolutely.
know, I thought that
It
was
was a beautiful energy exchange between you.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't, I love to be able to give, and just that being able to pay it forward, pay for somebody else's coffee that might come in or whatever. But I want to share this. I randomly will sometimes pay for people's groceries, that are in front of me. And there was a lady, youngish woman with a teenage son, and she was struggling to having to still put stuff back, so, oh, could you just take that out and take that out? And she was calculating to be able to get it to the right amount so she could afford to pay it. And I said to her, excuse me, I said, but I hope you wouldn't be offended if I could pay for your groceries. She said, oh no, you don't have to. I can, I said, but I'd really love to. And she said, are you sure? I said, yeah, absolutely. So of course I did. And she said, oh, leave those things out, like those things that she'd already said to stay out. I said, no, don't worry about that. Just put them back in. So the teller, because she's sitting there looking at both of us going, which one am I working with here? So I'm saying put them in. She's saying leave them out. So anyway, she put them in and we did all that. Then I was at New World in Onarahi one day, and there was an older woman who was in front of me, and she was putting her groceries up. And I said to her, would you mind if I paid for your groceries today? Wow. Honestly, Donna, I thought she's going to punch me. She was so offended. She swung around. No, she said. And I went, oh, I said, really? I said, oh, okay. I said, are you sure? Yes, no, thank you. I don't need you to pay. I said, I'm not suggesting that you need me to. I'm just saying, would you, that I'd really like to. She said, no, thank you, and turned her back on me. And the girl at the checkout, she went red. She got really embarrassed for me, I think. Anyway, this lady toddled off, and the girl at the checkout said, oh, that was a really lovely thing you were doing there. And I said, you know what? I said, I just got this prompt to offer that to her. And I said, I actually felt like she wouldn't take it up. But I said, what I knew was she wasn't able to receive. And I said, and I'm just hoping that when she leaves here, she's going to think about her reaction, and that if that ever happened to her again, she might be able to say yes and
Mm.
actually receive. And she said, oh, that's really lovely. I said, well, that's what I know it's all about. But yeah, it's funny. Some people's reaction, the way they just can't accept gift or receiving.
Mm.
Quite interesting.
And sometimes me too. Like I'm just like everybody else. Like I'm doing this give a week at the moment, and I give a week. I think I said that to you before. And a friend of mine who I was helping last week, he gave me $200 to help him, paid for my ferry ticket, my bus, and gave me food. And I was like, holy macaroni, all I've done is help you hold the gorse thing and chop down some gorse. I said, this
Yeah.
is so much. I said, I don't actually need this much. And he said, oh, you might do. And yeah, and I had to really go, whoa, okay, accept.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's the same with gift economy with my coaching. Because you know what it's like. You have clients as well. You become quite intimate in regard to their stories and their intimacies, which are
Yes.
obviously confidential. But and you kind of get to know how they roll with money. And then you go to your bank account and they've put in like $150. And it's like, oh, that is hard to receive. And
Yeah.
so I will often go back to them and say, I always go back and say really grateful. And I actually tell them what I spend it on as well. So
Yes.
people really like that.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
yeah, so I went back and I said, look, is this sustainable? Because that's really important with gift economy. And she said, no, but the session was amazing. And I said, okay, well, you've got 2 more sessions. So why don't you include your next session into this? She goes, oh, that would be great. So it's that constant talking.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
that
for
constant
sure.
to and fro so that people don't get offended if they don't need to. And
Yes.
also they understand that, there is no expectation.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing for me is I love living in a world of no expectation because
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to get. Yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely that. It's
Yeah.
fun. It
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
really
It's
so much
playful.
exciting.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
I find the world, and especially money, I find money is so beige because it's such a heavy thing for
it
people.
is.
And
It
having
is.
come from no money,
Yeah.
I know that I can live without money. So, yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I totally get that. I used to be so hung up on it, and now it's nah. I have a totally different way with it as well, and it just flows. It just
Yeah.
flows. I don't even think about it. Don't need to think about it. It just is, and I don't know. It's a very big difference. I know from being in lack and it choking me and all the fear of how am
Mm.
I going to pay my bills and William would turn up in the letterbox every month and I'd think, oh, how am I going to pay that bill? All of that. But now, God, different, totally. And I find, being able to help through, like to teach others how and to bring them also into that awareness of where they may be sort of just holding it all up. Because it's only if it's a flow, it's just an energetic flow. And often I'm telling, and just even at the expo on Sunday morning, I had a talk and I said to everybody, we don't actually need money. We think in that way because that's what the economy is about, but actually you don't need it. And I was saying how I've had 3 vehicles, gifted to me that I said to universe, said to myself, I'm not buying another car. They're all going to be gifted to me from now on. I'm going to stay open to receive them. And I did have to work on my receiving on the first one coming in, but it's and yeah, everyone goes, oh wow. But it's just what it is. We don't need to have money, and we think we do all the time. We think we need to have that to make that happen.
And I really I feel, and if people are listening to this too, I feel the trauma around money, and a
Mm,
lot of the time that's generational.
yeah,
And yeah, so I feel for all of us at the moment around money, because it really is something it tugs, it pulls,
yeah,
it creates quite the stress sometimes. So
yeah,
I do appreciate, and I am open to the stress of money and the difficulty of giving and the difficulty of receiving. I'm
mm,
I'm not beyond it. I'm in it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Me too. And it's that. I wrote a letter to money a couple of times, but the second time that I did that, it came in energetically like as a male form. And that really actually changed like the way that I saw it was just so different. And I thought, holy heck, actually, I've been in a relationship with money like a relationship with anything else. And if I'd been screaming and yelling and stomping my feet because it wasn't around, you know, and wanting it to be different to what it was, it wouldn't be in my home. It wouldn't be coming to visit me either. So, you know, I really got it. And it was like, wow. Then I had a lot of processing to do around the guilt and the shame that I had of treating money the way I treated it. And any wonder I was pushing it away as well, you know. Oh, it's really interesting, like really, really interesting. So yeah, it's a awesome thing, and yet it's a very it's a difficult thing to get, I reckon, to get right around money.
Yeah,
Um,
very much.
so Donna, watching you on these walks, you're just phenomenal, like actually.
Thank
And
you.
that Camino walk, I just like, oh my God. Every day I couldn't wait to see what your posts were, you know, and high five you, Donna. Oh my God, good on you. It was what I was doing every day, watching and going through the journey with you. In the Portugal, I have a thing about Portugal. I didn't know that I did until Anwin Vibe actually was in there and
Mm.
taking some photos. And I thought, oh, I had this vibe come through, and I thought, oh my God, I actually want to go there one day. I hadn't even thought about it. It was more France for me, you know, but that shifted and it was Portugal. So tell me all about that. How, like, when you were doing the Camino, right? I mean, we can all put pictures up and we can all, you know, the sun's shining and it's such a beautiful time and rah-de-rah. The mental, how do you do the mental? Did you have days where mentally you're going, oh God, I wish I'd never started this? Or, you know, was the body in pain? Did you go through that sort of stuff?
I was really blessed. I coming from a sporting background, I
Yep.
really understand my body. And so I feed it and move it and sleep it and de-stress it so that it can perform. So my body was amazing. I didn't get one blister. It was just incredible. I mean, it was 1,000 kilometers plus. So I went from Lisbon all the way to Pied de Port in Saint John Pied de Port in France. And it was fantastic because it was so simple. And Portugal, the energy, oh my goodness, I really noticed the difference because you're on foot and you're seeing it so differently. So
Yeah.
going, even the movement from Portugal to Spain, you really notice such a difference between the two countries. Yeah, that was probably the most interesting part for me, was the different energy between Portugal and Spain and France, and where I fitted in that. I was definitely a Portugal girl, and I'm
Mm.
going back to do another walk next year down the bottom of Portugal with some people. But yeah, but and because I've always lived, I've through my 20s when I had the adventure company, I lived in bivvies and hammocks, and so going into the monasteries, which are very modest, and the albergues, which are like really basic hostels, I loved it, but it's not for everybody. And so a lot of people get their packs transferred from accommodation to accommodation, and they'll use Airbnbs. But I love doing the pilgrimage. One thing that was really funny, that this was the part that was difficult for me, was it's such a Catholic country, which I acknowledged. And I went to a lot of pilgrim masses and I loved it. It was all in Portuguese and the singing was beautiful. And you could really feel the heart of spirit from the monks who were running the sessions. But it was poor bloomin' Jesus. I really noticed how Jesus was always on the cross, bleeding, thorns in his hair, every single town I walked into. And then Spain was the same. And I was like, oh, please take Jesus off that cross and get him down and show him in a different way. So
Yeah.
that was something that I didn't expect to feel
Yeah.
so deeply about. And I didn't expect to feel, because I've always loved Jesus and I've loved what he did in his life. And I think that guy just rocked the earth and left
Yeah.
so many good things for us.
Mm.
And so for me, seeing him as a tragedy and
Suffering.
for us to be fearful of the life that he lived,
Mm.
yeah, I was just like, ah, so that was a really big challenge for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing I suppose too was getting my head out of my ass. When I'd be walking along and I'd be great and I'd feel good and everything was wonderful, but people around me were really feeling bad and they had blister families, blisters upon blisters. And so I became the kind of the blister doctor. And then I could feel myself with my head up my ass going, oh, for goodness sake, get over yourself. Either rest and don't push your body or stop completely.
Yes.
I suppose watching people in pain every day just keep pushing through the pain because they said they were going to walk to San Diego. So that was another thing that I wasn't expecting either. Yeah, and something that was really beautiful for me is I'm dyslexic and my English isn't great. I have a small amount of words, which I use a lot of them. And so learning another language is full on. My
Yeah.
Portuguese was terrible, but I could really understand what they were saying. And the intuition, the body language, the heart connection, that was really cool. That was amazing, being able to communicate really easily with them. And
Mm.
one monastery, I was listening intently to what he was saying, and the monk could see that I was listening. And then he asked me to tell everybody what he just said. And my girlfriend, who was with me at the time, she goes, you have no idea what he just said. So I just blatted out all the rules and regulations and it got it down to a fine art. And at the end of it, she said to me, did you telepathically listen to him? And I said, no, it was simply that just that real listening. So that's what really honed for me, was the real listening, because when I started on the Camino, I wasn't listening well.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I've come back to New Zealand and I'm listening way better, because the ego gets in the way, and the ego's survival, bless the ego, it's there for survival.
Yeah.
And I know that I can, I thrive now. So getting on that Camino and walking meant that I had to listen. It was really good.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's very cool. And it's probably listening from the heart more than the ears itself, eh? The mind, and listening to the priest, hearing what he was saying, and being able to actually feel it and get an idea around what he might have been saying.
Yeah,
Maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Those monks did it hard, man. Their
Yeah.
monasteries, concrete, stone, cold. They just had little bunk beds, 2 bunk beds with a curtain. And when we went in there, it was 6 o'clock, you had your tour of the monastery. 6:30, you ate your bread and soup. 7:30, you were in bed, lights out at 8. Everybody had to be up at 6. Oats and water bread and water for breakfast, and out by 7:30. Like,
Wow.
yeah, and that's how the monks lived, with very little and very disciplined. And it was so funny watching us Westerners, like, oh, bread and water for breakfast.
Yeah.
We've got
Like,
to be in bed by 7:30. We are so, and I'm going to say this, and I used to hate it when I heard people, but now I really understand it. We're so privileged.
we are.
We're so privileged. And I used to, you know, like, oh, how dare you say I'm privileged? But oh my goodness, yeah, I feel really privileged and really grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do too. Honestly, I do. And I think about that a bit. But I also know it's okay, you
Mm.
know? Um, but yeah, you see things, like this Palestinian stuff, and you sort of think, God, thank God for what we've got and how it's not in our house, that sort of thing. But
Absolutely. A girlfriend of mine that I walked with over in Israel, we did a walk around Israel. We actually went to the Gaza Strip in 1986, it was. And
mm,
we actually got picked up by a US tank and got thrown in this tank and escorted out in this tank out of the Gaza Strip, because back then there was a bit of unrest as well. And we had no idea. We were laughing and joking and thinking it was hilarious that these soldiers had thrown us into their tank and got us out.
oh,
And it's really interesting because we've spoken since. And back then, there was so much unrest as well. And so
totally.
it's built over centuries, hasn't it?
It
And
has.
what can I do to help?
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. It's just got to play out, doesn't it? There's nobody's helping. So it's like, it's just incredible. But, that's a whole different program, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness me. So you've got these walks. Oh, how far is the Portugal walk that you're going to be doing?
So there's a 5 day, which is about 15 to 20 Ks a day. And so people can come and do the 5 day. Then so it's 15 to 20 days. But if people just want to do the 5 day, they can, or they can carry on to do the 10 day or the 15 day. So it's along the south coast. It's called the Fisherman's Trail. And
Ah,
yeah, it's not a pilgrimage, it's not a religious pilgrimage, it's the Fisherman's Trail, and it's beautiful. It's very coastal, and that's one thing I really loved about Portugal is its coast. It's
mm,
stunning. And the
wow.
little villages.
Yeah. It's when are you doing that? That's next year.
Yeah, end of May. So it's
Oh yeah.
springtime over there, so it's not so hot. If you go any late, like mid-June, you kind of want cut off for the heat because it gets really hot.
Yeah.
So we usually do those Portugal, Spain walks May, June. Yeah.
And are you setting that up? Is that your adventures that are setting that up as a
Yeah, yeah.
thing?
And you
Oh,
can, so there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can do it yourself, and I'm really happy to give people the information. I'm just enjoying getting people out walking. So
yeah.
most people seem to want to do a walk together, but on their own, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I always say one step at a time in your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important. Because if you're not a fast walker, my mother was a fast walker.
Mm.
And loved walking. She just loved it. She was always freaked out if she went into in a vehicle. She'd rather walk everywhere. So she was a fast walker. And I mean, I remember even as a kid, I'm sort of, behind her, trying to keep up, and she's not. She's just pacing it out, not a problem. Honestly, it used to blow me away. But yeah, if you're trying to keep up with somebody like that, it's no point.
No, not at
Just
all.
not good.
And also in New Zealand, a lot of us used to do those school camps where single file one after the other, and that didn't work for a lot of people either. So especially
No.
with the mindfulness walks, like we know where we're going and everybody can walk at their own speed, which I really enjoy because, you might want to hug a tree for half an hour and somebody else wants to get to the site and put up their tent. And
Yeah.
so at the moment it's working really well, and of course a lot of people haven't wild camped before,
No.
and I've sort of picked that up from overseas because New Zealand is a little bit funny with wild camping. So yeah, I'm going to see how it works over here. We've got a few wild camps coming up, but I've done it the legal way and asked different farmers and foresters if we can pitch up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because there wouldn't be you'd have to be careful about where you went around, eh?
Absolutely, because even freedom camping and camper vans is getting
Mm,
more and more restricted now.
it
So,
is.
whereas like UK, where I do a lot of walking, wild camping is normal and it's wonderful. You walk along and
Mm,
you walk for however long you want to, and then you just set up camp. It's great. And everybody else is doing it as well. But they have that free to roam. So that's the good thing about the UK is you can roam everywhere.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, everywhere's an exaggeration, but there's,
I get
you
what
know,
you mean. A lot
yeah,
more. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because here is definitely restricted, even like, yeah, definitely getting more and more restricted as well, eh?
yeah, absolutely.
Beaches getting taken over and we're not allowed onto beaches, some of them, and all that sort of thing. It's starting to get a
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
And I
But
find if I ask people directly, they're usually pretty good because I show them my risk management plan and tell them what I'm doing and show them my equipment. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's good. They know you're going to look after it. So, yeah, people, even the gated communities that I've talked to, they're really lovely. They're really helpful. It's
yeah,
just a matter of connecting and conversing and finding out what they need and want from me and them finding out what I need and want and seeing if it works.
yes, yeah, for sure. Always that communication stuff, eh?
Whenever I see a door locked, I always knock on it,
Yeah,
because that's when you find the gems.
it is for sure. So Donna, you help, like you coach people through,
Yeah,
yeah,
that came out of human resources because I used to do a lot of coaching in corporate and then have been coaching a lot of people in transition. And
yeah,
then I thought, oh, I'm quite a random coach. Maybe I should, do some kind of certification. So I've started with Precure, who are amazing. A
mm,
whole lot of doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists, who have gone, our system is not working. This is a sickness system, and we actually want to help people
mm,
live
yeah,
healthy. It's amazing. So I signed up
cool,
with them and I'm doing their masters in holistic health coaching, and it's fabulous and it's really helping my work. It's so
yeah.
good to be a student. I love learning.
Yes, it's great, eh? When you're on the right thing, though. I
Absolutely.
a bit like you with the accounting. I went and did a small business course, and it was like, oh my god, the stuff I don't get it. It's like I
Yes.
can free flow my bizzo and do my thing, but having to put it all into this is like, oh really?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's parts of it, isn't there? But so people can connect with you through Facebook, obviously, and
Facebook, Instagram, email address, daringdonna at extra.co.nz, phone number, somebody knows me. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm pretty easy to find. That's why I kept the Daring Donna because it's easy.
yes, yeah, for sure. And it so suits you. You're such an adventurer. It's gorgeous. I love it. It's inspirational. And I've been
Well,
thinking, of
when
getting
you,
out on your walks and things. And
yeah,
I'd
that'd
love
be
to
neat.
do
Neat
that
to have you come out.
Portugal's, one. I mean, that would be amazing. It's just getting fitter. I need to actually do more. I sit a lot with reading for people and doing, client work. It's like, God. So
Yeah.
yeah. And my hips and knees were all funny, but now they're right. So, it's like it's like moving my old body out and my new body coming in. It's great. It's really cool.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing with the walks too is it's not just about walking, like walking in the water, doing stairs, stretching, yoga,
Yeah.
going for bike rides. Like you don't just have to focus on the walking. That's actually what I've been doing is creating a lot of training programs for people because I
Yeah.
realized that everybody thinks, oh, I must walk and walk and walk. But actually, there's a whole lot of other things that are helpful as well, like particularly carrying packs, the core. So
Yeah.
doing a lot of core work. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, that's so lovely. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we head off?
I just actually like to celebrate you with what you're doing and just say thank you so much for stepping out of the way and allowing what flows through you. It's actually really beautiful to watch. I was made aware of you when I was in the far north with a lady that was apprenticing with you or working with you, a young Maori girl. She was lovely, and she raved about this Mandy Horton. And I remember looking you up and kind of followed you through, and I was like, wow, the expansion of your heart and what you give to the world. So yeah, just in front of whoever's watching this, just really want to say thank you, because what I love about you, Mandy, is your authenticity. Like you come across, and yeah, and it's real. So thank you.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you so, so much for that. That's really beautiful of you to say that. Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Donna. You brought a little tear to my eye, even. It's gorgeous.
It's nice
Appreciate
to
you very
celebrate
much.
each
Thank
other.
you.
Mm.
And look forward to all your adventures. I love that you share with us when you're on those little journeys and those big journeys, some of them. Excuse me, Putty. Yeah, I love watching and catching up with you and following you on those journeys. So I look forward to the next one, and maybe along the line, somewhere along the line, I may be able to join you and come in and have a walk with you. That would be fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And it's lovely to get the, when you're out there and you're at 600 kilometers and you look on your Facebook page and you see all these likes and comments, and you can actually feel, you can feel the connection with people's hearts. It's really, really heartwarming. It goes beyond ego. It really hits the heart.
I feel that too, and I was feeling that with you with the Camino. I could feel you feeling all of us with you on that journey, and that was I thought that at the time that would have been a beautiful feeling for you.
Yeah, it was so
Absolutely.
helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, well, much love to you, Donna, and your beautiful husband, and sharing this journey with you, of course, too, in the two hemispheres, how you're bringing them all together and sharing them with all of us. It's so cool. So thank you for everything, and thanks for coming on and having this chat, because I've been dying to get in and have a chat with you and find out more about your journeys and yourself and what you're up to and who you really are in there. That we see that online, of course, but it's always lovely to have an actual face-to-face chat. And a hug next time we see each other will be lovely.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
so welcome. Much love.
Much love to you.